It's so exciting. I love being in London. I love this carpet. It's one of the best carpets. It has the most energy. And I'm just so happy for this film. I think fans all over the world are gonna love it. I mean, this movie is for everyone. Kids are gonna love it, families are gonna love it, parents are gonna love it. You know, I loved it, and I'm not even, I never watch my own movies, and I'm not even a comic book person. And this movie is an action, adventure, romance, comic book, fantasy, it's everything. It's really
something for everyone, isn't it? Yeah.
There's something for everyone, and it's just fun.
What did you enjoy?
It's why we go to the movies, you know? It's why you go to the cinema. Films like this. It was hard spending this much time doing something, you know, you leave your family, you leave your friends, and then you go and create this fantasy world. So the hardest part for me was maintaining that fantasy and the imagery of that world in which you exist, but really you're surrounded most of the time by blue screen and hooked up to wires, you know, and hooked up to all this machinery, and you've got to somehow know that you're in this imaginary world of Atlantis that you can't see. So that's what was so cool. The best part of it for me, as opposed to the hardest, which was doing that, was going to see it and then being a part of the audience as I saw this world for the first time, which is what's so cool, and it's going to be so fun for an audience. It's just to see this world for the first time when we've never seen. Well, he completely reinvented Aquaman. I mean, Aquaman's always been kind of squeaky clean. You know, in the comic book, he looks very, you know, American and very, you know, straight-laced. And I think it's amazing when we have such a vessel like that to take over the brand and kind of reimagine it. He is full of life. He's so much fun. He's just, he's like a brother, you know, like a little brother. A loud, big one. I watched this dress walk the carpet at the Valentino Haute Couture show in Paris, and I saw, that whole show was amazing, but I saw, it was like what fashion should be or could be when you mix imagination and luxury and do it in an unapologetic way. It's like wearing art, and every piece was beautiful, but I saw this. I'm wearing a swim cap. I mean, come on. Mira is, you know, I knew I liked her when I read her in the comic book, and some of the, you know, civilians, you know, the land dwellers, if you were, ask if she's Aqua Woman, and she stops in her track and she says, "I'm not Aqua Woman, I have a name. My name's Mira." And I was like, I can get behind that kind of woman.
Wow, this is wonderful. It's beautiful as usual. The Brits put on the best premieres, I think. My daughters are here. It's wonderful. I'm doing a movie with that guy, Jason Momoa, and I just did one with Michael B. Jordan, and two of the greatest young movie stars, you know, so I'm happy. Well, you know, he's a big guy, you know, he's my size, and a lot of the action stars aren't quite as big, so I can stand next to him. He was very nice. We trained together. I think he has a lot of charisma. You know, he has all the makings of a very charismatic film star, you know, so I think he'll do very well. Well, I enjoyed that I was hired to play a political figure, kind of an acting role, not so much action, not just kicking ass, you know, which I don't mind doing, but, you know, I've done a lot of it, so it was nice to kind of do more talking and less action. The hardest thing was hanging in the wires and doing all the stunt work, you know, 40 foot in the air for 6-8 hour days, hanging up there. And the bigger you are, the more it pulls on certain areas, you know, and the anatomy, so it's a bit uncomfortable. And the bigger you are, the more it pulls. Well, you know, it was fantastic, huge Hollywood picture with great adventure, good actors, you know, action, terrific action, good story, very Shakespearean, and also a bit of a message about ecology and what we're doing to the ocean. So I think it's like a very well-balanced picture, really. Well, he looked a bit like me in the original, actually, you know, but I think Jason is better. He looks like him. Well, I don't know. I mean, all of these characters are special, but I think the fact that he lives under the ocean, he doesn't live on a different planet, and it makes it kind of more visual or something with the water, because, you know, we're, what, 80% water, isn't it, or 90 or something, so there's a certain weird kind of mystical connection to it.
I'm super excited. I've never had a premiere in London before, so this is like the first of many. It's been a it's been a slog trying to get this movie done. 2.5 years of my life, but it's been a fun experience putting it together, creating an amazing world that we have collectively together, and I cannot wait for the UK audience to see this film. It's actually both would be the same. I would give the same answer. Designing the huge world of Atlantis. I've always wanted to do a design movie, like a world creation film, and this movie really allowed me to dive into that aspect of it. But it wasn't easy to do. Well, Jason brings so much charisma to this role, and just by the nature of casting Jason in this role, the whole preconceived notion that we have of what Aquaman used to be is completely out the window, and Jason just brings so much of his own personality to this film. I think they can expect a fun action-adventure movie where it takes them into the world of Atlantis and beyond, and it's, I think we work very hard to create a world that we've never seen before. It is, the idea was to create an origin story, even though we had seen Jason's character in Justice League. This takes him, our hero, on a very different journey to become the hero that we know him as. I like that he's an underdog. For the longest part, people have made fun of him. No one takes him seriously, and I think this movie is going to show him in a different light.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, I spent a good part of, 9 months shooting Justice League here, so I just landed from Vancouver. It's awesome that it's finally kicking off and the world premiere is here. I'm stoked, man. It's been 5 years in the making, buddy. So it's a little surreal right now, but I'm gonna wait to see it with my babies. So tonight I'm just gonna kind of go in and get out because it's a pretty rare moment where I can watch some of my children for the first time. So this is probably the most stunts I've ever done in my life. So it's action-packed. I mean, I was injured a lot, and my stunt guys were injured a lot. So that was definitely the most challenging. But then I think the greatest part is it was summertime and I had my babies with me and they got to be raised on set. And so that's a really cool thing because obviously I do a lot of things that kids aren't allowed to watch. So I think it's got a little bit of everything, man. It's a good sense of humor, but it's just a big road trip, you know what I mean? I think it's a big adventure and I think it offers something for the whole family. But definitely got action. Definitely got it. And also, I don't think we've really seen anything like this before. I mean, what I've seen in the trailer, it's just what James did, the underwater world, is pretty amazing. I mean, I haven't seen anything like that since Avatar. I just love that he's a reluctant king. You know what I mean? I feel like sometimes we all have the powers and we're all heroes and we're all very important. We can change the world, and I think it's just, he was gifted with this power, and it took everyone around him, his mother to Mara to his father to, lift him up, and it's the people around you that make you a king.
I love working with James. James has a great vision, and the film his vision was somewhere between, I don't know, The Matrix, Star Wars, I don't know, and James Wan. So I loved it, and I've just met him. Well, he's standing right next to me. He was. I've spent the last 9 months with him, so I've just loved every minute. I loved James giving me a sort of blank palette of what I could do with Atlantis. Atlantis I enjoyed the most because it hadn't been done before really in modern day theatre. So I just loved getting my synths out. I didn't just go for orchestra. I made it a big hybrid sound, and the challenge. There are two love stories in the film, and so the challenge was sort of differentiating between the two for me. I think James has been on this for 2 or 3 years, but I came in this year, so basically the whole of 2018 I've been on the movie, and I started with an Arthur theme, you can imagine, and that took me a couple of months to nail down that James and I were happy, and I didn't really get started writing the themes, the cues, until halfway through the year when I've got the tone right, They can expect, if they love Star Wars, they'll love it because it's out there in an environment that they haven't experienced before. So picture yourself in late 1970s seeing Star Wars, and then put the modernity of what The Matrix felt like when you first saw that, and rip those together with a bit of James Wan, beautiful colour, and you're there. Well, I've got to be honest, I am a fan of Aquaman, and more so now, and James has taught me a lot. He's a massive fan. But really, the character that James has built has actually has made me love him more, because he's more of a monster, more of a rock and roll hero for me. I loved him because he was funny. He was a king, but also as in the comics, there was something funny about it as well that I enjoyed, and now we see him as more of a rock and roll hero, I think, through James Wan.
Oh man, I'm so excited. I love this town. I love being here. I've loved shooting here, so having our world premiere here is pretty thrilling. Man, we had it was the most physically exhausting job I've ever had. It's my 5th movie with James, so it was a well-worn relationship, but we were certainly getting into new waters, forgive the pun, and bringing it here to the UK. I mean, I can't wait to share this movie with everybody. I mean, I think the most challenging was really just, you know, a lot of my stuff is underwater, so we were in wires quite a bit, so hanging in various positions and flying around the room. Seems fun for about 10 minutes, and then it's a little rough on your body, but and the fighting was both thrilling and exhausting. Well, I mean, I think when you're dealing with, you know, one of the great things about comic books to me is that you've got these allegories and these stories that are tried and true, and we've got a great relationship, Jason and I do, and our characters, it's very Shakespearean, these brothers and the half-brother and fighting for the throne. It's very regal. And then you've got this great relationship with him and Amber. That's this wonderful sort of bickering, you know, budding romance. So. Yeah, I mean, you don't set out to, hey, we're going to make a movie for everybody, because then it just seems like you're sort of washing over the story. The great thing about comics is that you've got so many storylines and so many characters and relationships, and that's what James does best. Character of Aquaman? Yeah. I don't care about the character of Aquaman. What do I care about? Play King Orm, who's the king of Atlantis, the younger brother of Arthur, who is Aquaman. So I basically want to, I'm really angry at the surface world for destroying my oceans, rightfully so. So I'm taking it out on the world. Oh, and he wants to come take the throne. So there's that.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey!